Several high-profile people have made a brief appearance in the Palm Ridge Specialised Commercial Crimes Court today. Among them were former Transnet CEOs Siyabonga, Gama and Molefe, as well as former Transnet CFOs Garry, Pita and Anoj, Singh. The case has now been postponed to the 14th of October. Let's speak about the latest round of arrests. We're joined by Paul Hoffman, Director at Accountability Now. A very good afternoon to you, Advocate. Welcome to Daytime Update. A good place to begin would be with your reaction to these four latest arrests in connection with this alleged corrupt Transnet deal.
Good afternoon, Tambakili, and good afternoon to your viewers as well. I'm afraid this display today was rather underwhelming. There's no completed charge sheet. There's no completed investigation. There's no certainty as to whether more accused will be added or not. And really, one gets the impression that the NPA and the Hawks are feeling the political pressure to be seen to be doing something. So they're going off half-cocked. They are really presenting the court with a half-baked case and meekly rolling over and giving bail to people who should surely at least be regarded as a potential flight risk, given that their associates are all sitting in jail in Dubai at the moment.
Well, if what you're saying about the NPA presenting a half-baked case to court is true today, that would be quite embarrassing, would it not be? Because Shamila Batoyi, in previous appearances before Parliament, had said that while there is understandable public pressure on the prosecuting authority to bring people to book in connection with the major corruption cases in the country, they would not play to the gallery. What they would do is put forward a thorough case in order to secure those convictions.
Well, what I heard coming out of the mouths of the advocates who are representing the accused is that a draft charge sheet, not a finalized charge sheet, was presented to them, that they have not seen a docket yet, and that the investigation, we learned from the prosecutor, is not complete, and nor has the National Prosecuting Authority decided whether it is going to join more accused or not. That is not a case that has been made court-ready by the time it gets to court.
Mm-hmm. What more would you have wanted to hear to convince you?
Well, I would have been much more impressed if there was a finalized charge sheet and if a decision had been made as to whether this case is going to be delayed while further accused are added, and if, as was speculated in court, those further accused are the Guptas, we might be waiting several years for the Guptas to come and join the happy throng that we saw in the dock today. So really, I suggest that the NPA has bowed to political and public pressure to be seen to be doing something, and what it has done is particularly half-baked in this case.
The NPA spokesperson, I'm not sure if you caught this in Siyabonga, the Directorate spokesperson, speaking to our colleague Kobana Gumbi and other journalists just after the adjournment, indicated that they were awaiting the extradition of at least two other suspects in the matter. How much then does that move us in the direction of what you're saying is so crucial to establish?
Yes, well, certainly if the two other accused in the matter, unnamed at this stage, are the subject of an extradition process, then joining the dots, it's the Guptas they're talking about. And you can be sure that the Guptas will use every trick in the book and a couple more beside to avoid being extradited to South Africa. They will appeal and appeal again in the extradition proceedings which are pending in Dubai as you and I talk now.
What then would have been, I mean, I know you said, Advocate, that you would have liked to hear more, for example, about whether there'll be more people, at least during the official proceedings in court, if there'd be more people added to this matter, more detail on the finalized charge sheet. If all of this falls apart, let me change the question. If this falls apart, how damning would it be for the NPA, given the past promises that it's made about the level of seriousness in dealing with alleged graft?
Yes, well, I'm on record as saying that the NPA does not have the skill, the talent, the capacity, the resources that are necessary to mount a corruption investigation against, look at Brian Molefe, for example. He was a former CEO of Eskom and of Transnet. He was a member of Parliament. He was earmarked to become the Minister of Finance in South Africa. Fortunately, it didn't happen. He is going to put up a very strong defense, even though he's now pleading poverty and crying that he's earning only 12,000 Rand a month and has to borrow money to make 50,000 Rand bail. He's not going to be an accused who simply rolls over and pleads guilty. So make up your mind whether you are going to join other accused or not. Finalize your investigation, draw your charge sheet, and then go to court. Not this pantomime that everybody is getting so excited about, which could turn into a damp squib on the 14th of October or thereafter. If they decide they want the Guptas to be in this case, they're going to have to start all over again with it. And then what we have seen today is simply playing to the gallery and not actually getting on with the job at hand. What is needed is to take these serious corruption cases away from the hawks, who've never been up to this task, and away from the NPA, which is now a hollowed-out body, and it should be given to a Chapter 9 institution that is properly set up and concentrates only on serious corruption cases. We've persuaded the ANC that that should be the case. We've persuaded the DA and the IFP as well, but the cabinet doesn't want to do it because too many of their mates will end up in the dock. And so we find ourselves in a dead end with reforming, necessary reform of the criminal justice administration to bring it into line with what the courts have said is required to have effective and efficient anti-corruption machinery of state. Today's appearance is a clear illustration that there is no efficient and effective anti-corruption machinery of state in South Africa.
And whose fault would that be?
It's the fault of the politicians. Parliament was ordered by the Constitutional Court to put that legislative framework in place. Instead, they gave us the hawks and the prosecution services by the NPA in two separate compartments, which has never worked and never will. And now we sit in a situation where fusion teams and anti-corruption task teams at all manner of devices, even the ID is not, the investigating directorate of the NPA is not a constitutionally compliant body. All of this falling around could be avoided if Parliament exercised oversight properly and saw to it that the findings and the criteria laid down in the Glenister litigation are put into practice in the real world of the state's obligation to act against the corrupt, so that the rights of everybody in the Bill of Rights are properly delivered, which they can't be if so much money is being stolen all the time, and so that South Africa can comply with its international obligations. As we sit here now, we do not have any form of compliance with the requirements that the courts have laid out loud and clear in the judgments that apply.
Advocate Paul Hoffman, Director at Accountability Now, thank you for your time today.